dear students, welcome to English grammar class. Today, the topic that I am going to discuss with you is active and passive voice. To learn active and passive voice, we must first understand what is transitive and what is intransitive verb. A transitive verb used with a direct object transmits an action to an object and may also have an indirect object which indicates to and for whom the action is done. Whereas an intransitive verb never takes an action. In other words, an intransitive verb does not pass an action to object. A sentence with a transitive verb can be changed into passive voice, but a sentence with an intransitive verb cannot be changed into passive voice. Now, let us see what is voice. Voice in a sentence relates to its verb. In fact, the question of changing voice arises only when a transitive verb is involved. So, when does the question of changing voice arises? When a transitive verb is involved. Now, let us see an example of transitive verb. Sonia changed the flat tire on her car. So, in this sentence, it is about Sonia, the subject. Sonia is also the doer of the action. Therefore, the sentence is in active voice. Now, let us see a few examples of intransitive verb. First one, Rekha felt very bad. Number 2, it has stopped raining. Number 3, they seem confused about something. So, the underlined verbs in the sentences are intransitive and they cannot pass an action to an object. So, they cannot have a passive form. Now, after knowing what is voice, let us see its divisions. First, active voice. When the subject of the sentence is the doer of the action, means doing an action, the verb is said to be in the active voice. For example, Sonia changed the flat tire on car. So who is doing the action? Subject, that is Sonia. Now, passive voice. In a sentence, when the subject is not the doer of the action, but is acted upon by the verb. The subject is not doing the action in this sentence. So this sort of sentence is said to be in passive voice. So let's see this sentence when changing to passive voice, how it's looking. The flat tire was changed by Sonia. So the flat tire, which was the object in the active voice, is becoming the subject in the passive voice, and the subject in the active voice is becoming object in passive voice. So now let us see few examples of sentences changing from active voice to passive voice. Number 1, Renu sings a song. So Renu, the subject, is doing the action. So this is an active voice. So when it's getting changed, a song is sung by Renu. So this is in passive form. Second one, Neha's father praised her. What will be in passive? Neha was praised by her father. Hope you students are saying along with me and practicing them. If you do like this, then you'll be learning it very fast. So please, when I'm doing the changes, please follow and say along with me. Alright? Now, few more about passive voice. When the transitive verb has two objects, there are two possible ways of changing or converting it into passive voice. In such a sentence, when it has two objects, either the direct or the indirect object may be made the subject in the passive voice, while the other object remains unchanged. The object which is not changing, that object is called the retained object. Now, to understand it, let us see few examples. He gave us some money. He gave us some money. This is it active. So when it is getting changed in passive, some money was given to us. Here the indirect object is us, which is the retained object. Why? When it is getting changed into passive voice the sentence, this us remains the same thing. So this is the retained object. Again, a next example. We are given some money. So here the direct object money is the retained object. So these are the two possibilities. One, some money was given to us. This is one form of passive change. And the next one is we were given some money. In this one, money, which is the direct object, that remains same. It's not getting changed. So here money, which is a direct object, is the retained object. Is it clear, class? So now let us proceed. So after learning voice and its divisions, now we are going to see the table here which shows the change of active to passive voice with formulas. First, let me tell you a few codes. V1 represents present form of verb, V2 past form of verb, and V3 past participle form of the verb. Now let us see what happens when the tense isn't simple. For simple past, active form, what will be the formula? V2, that is past form of the verb, like I loved. I loved. So this is the past form of the verb. When this is getting changed into passive, what is the formula becoming? Was or were plus V3. V3 is past participle. So how is the sentence looking? I was loved. Was plus V3, that is the participle form. Now, simple present. In active, the formula is V1, that is the present form of the verb. Example, I love. I love, that is present form of the verb. In passive, is, am, or are plus V3. So let's see the example. I am loved. Now, in past perfect form. In active, what is the formula I'm having? Had plus V3, that is the participle form of the verb. So example, I had loved. I had loved. In love, the participle form, so it is becoming loved. In passive form, what will the formula? Had been plus V3, that is the participle form of the verb. So how is getting changed this sentence into passive form? I had been loved. Now for present perfect. In active, what is the formula? Has or have plus V3. That is participle form of the verb. So I have loved. So what will be in passive? The formula has or have plus been plus V3. So what will be the example in passive? I have been loved. Now coming to future perfect, what will be in the active form? The formula will or shall plus have plus V3. That is will or shall plus have plus participle form of the verb. So I shall have loved. In passive, what will be the formula? Will or shall plus have been plus V3. That is the participle form of the verb. So the example in passive form, I shall have been loved. I shall have been loved. Now coming to perfect continuous, the active form, had been plus V1 ing. That is V1 is present form of the verb with that ing. An example, I had been loving. But this one in past perfect continuous, we do not have any passive form. Now, coming to present perfect continuous in active, what will be the formula? Have been or has been plus V1, that is verb in its present form, ing. Example, I have been loving. I have been loving. In passive form, again, no passive form for present perfect continuous. The last one, future perfect continuous. In active form, what will be the formula? Will or shall plus have been plus V1 ing. So let's see the example. I shall have been loving. So again for this, we do not have any passive form. Now, after knowing the transformation from active to passive voice under different tenses, let us see the structures in the passive voice. So there are 5 structures. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's discuss one by one with example. Now the first one, for plus retained object. Retained object means the object that does not change. Let's say the example. They sent me a packet. Active voice. In passive, a packet was sent for me. So for with that me is the retained object. Okay. Next one. To plus retained object. They gave her flowers. Active voice. In passive, flowers are given to her. To her. See, her is the retained object here. Third, passive with object complement. They elected her prime minister. Active. And here she was elected prime minister in passive. Now passive with preposition other than by. Other than by, what are the prepositions we can use? We know the facts. Active. The facts are known to us. Here to is the preposition used in passive. The last one, passive with infinitive. We made him complete the work. In active, he was made to complete the work. He was made to complete. So infinitive to is used with the verb to make the sentence in passive. Now, another very important topic in voice, that is change of voice in interrogative sentences. Even in the passive voice, a question remains a question. The auxiliary verb in both the voices in a question precedes the subject. So the question, that is auxiliary verb, always come before the subject, both in active and passive. Let us see the example. Can they lift this box? In active, see, it's getting started with the auxiliary verb can itself. Can this box be lifted? So it remains unchanged, the auxiliary verb, and it starts in the active voice with the beginning, in the beginning. Even in the passive voice also, it's remained in the beginning. Next example, will he not mend his ways? Will, see, look at will in the active voice. In passive, will his ways not be mended by him? So the auxiliary verb will remains the same in both active and passive voice, and that too they are preceding the subject. Next one under interrogative sentences, yes or no questions. The auxiliary verb do, did, and does in an interrogative sentence with the verb in the active voice changes to is, was, and are or were in the passive voice. So let's see a few examples. Do they watch the news every evening? So do. So do is getting changed to is in the passive. Is the news watched by them every evening? See, in this sentence, I have omitted by them. That you can also use. Okay, so that was what I was talking to you of in the rules. Okay, I told you in the rules that in few cases the subjects are getting omitted in passive voice. So see, that's what happening over here. You can omit it also and you can write it also. Okay, see the next example. Did Komal paint this picture? Say did. So this is getting changed to was. Was this picture painted by Komal? So did is getting changed to was. Few more things under change of voice in interrogative sentences. The auxiliary verb have or has in an interrogative sentence in the active voice changes into have been plus past participle of the verb. So let's see example. Had he cleaned the house before you reached? In active. And when it is getting changed or transformed into passive, had the house been cleaned? See, had been in the past, that is had been cleaned, participle form of the verb. So had the house been cleaned by him before you reached? So that's the change happening in passive. Now questions with who, what, which, when, why. Questions beginning with who, what, which, when, why retain the question word in the passive voice in the beginning of the sentence, and sometimes a preposition, usually by, is placed at the end. So let's see a few examples. Who did this mischief? Inactive. Who did is getting changed to who remains who. Who was this mischief done by? See, did is getting changed here. So who was this mischief done by? So this passive voice is ending with the preposition by. Next one, what do we require for this job? What remains what in passive. What do is getting to change into is. What is required for this job? I hope the explanation is clear to all. Now let's proceed to the next topic. The last very important topic under voice, that is change of voice in imperative sentence. Change of voice in imperative sentence. The sentence which is used to carry or convey a command, a request, or a forbiddance is called an imperative sentence. So under that, the first one is order or command. If you have an order or command in a sentence, how you're going to change? Let's see. The sentence begins with let. If you have order or command in your sentence in active, the sentence in passive begins with let, and the imperative verb changes into what? Be plus past participle of the verb. Let's see an example. Put all the clothes away. So put all the clothes away. So this is an command or order. So when this is getting changed into passive, we are starting with a let. Let all the clothes be put away. So let over here, and the imperative verb changes into be put away. So be plus the participle form of the verb. Next one, advice or suggestion. If you have an advice or suggestion in an active voice, the object in the imperative sentence occupies the subject position, and the verb expressing the advice or suggestion changes to should or must or ought to plus be plus participle form of the verb. So let's see an example again. Eat meals at regular times. This is a suggestion. Eat meals at regular time. See how it's getting changed? Meals should be eaten. Meals should be eaten at regular time. Okay? Again, request beginning with please or kindly. The phrase you're requested to is placed before the imperative verb if an active voice is beginning with a please or kindly. So let's see an example. Please send me the check as soon as possible is an active. So when I'm changing this into passive, what I'm writing, you are requested to send us the check as soon as possible. So you please is changing to you are requested. Next one, indirect commands or requests. For this, let's see an example first. She requested me to attend the meeting. She requested me to attend the meeting. Here the reporting verb is requested and the object that follows it is me. So the passive form of this sentence will therefore have me in the subject position. The infinitive to attain will remain unchanged. So this infinitive to attain will remain unchanged. So let's see the example in passive. I was requested by her to attend the meeting. See, to attend is remaining to attend in the passive. I was requested by her to attend the meeting. So, with that, we are coming to the end of the discussion on the chapter Active and Passive Voice. Hope with this discussion you will be able to understand the chapter very easily. Thank you.